You're in your apartment alone. Then you hear something. You think, was it just the storm? You realize you're not alone. Your living room is not safe with Unhinged, the new immersive game experience brought to you by Netflix. To make it out alive, you must answer the phone. The question is, when your phone rings, will you answer? Tap the banner to play Unhinged now, only on Netflix.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, what if I told you that there were a group of men who made a lot of money kidnapping people off the street and selling them? And the crazy part is, it was 100% legal. And what if I told you it didn't happen in some back alley? It happened in broad daylight, in the middle of the street, in New York City. And this happened hundreds of times. This is the case of the New York Kidnapping Club. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. the Plant Father, a.k.a. the Squirrel Whisperer, a.k.a. still profiling, a.k.a. still a champion.
Yeah. We have a full-on nature preserve at our house at this point.
Yeah, we attract all the animals.
We have all the animals.
We got Rascal the Squirrel.
We have tons of birds. We have our fish.
Oh, yeah, we got the koi fish.
We have the koi. We have our dogs. And now we have carnivorous plants.
Oh, yeah, and I got 3 of them, so I named them the Locks.
What are each of their names?
I have to figure out who's who.
Okay.
I got to see how their personalities are. Maybe the first one to catch something will be Jadakiss.
Okay.
Or maybe Styles. He's the most aggressive, probably. But they're little, so, they haven't eaten nothing yet.
If you don't know who the Locks are, Google it. And then you'll get the joke. Well, Russ bought carnivorous plants because he went down a YouTube rabbit hole. Since Russ has been in retirement, since his accident, he's now become a gardener, a bird expert, a lawn expert.
No, not lawn. That's you.
That's me.
I'm a long way from being a gangbanger.
What else have you become an expert of?
I learned how to clean the koi pond up with a good filter.
Oh, yeah. Our pond doesn't look like the Hudson River anymore.
I know. And because we did that, a damn big-ass bird came and took one of our big koi fish.
Yes, we had a herring come and eat. R.I.P. We have Salt and Peppa as 2 of our koi because they're black and white and they were best friends. And R.I.P. Salt because the herring came and ate it.
Yeah, it could have taken little goldfish too, but there's so many I didn't notice. But now we got a net.
Yeah, we had to put a net. It's been a whole thing. We have a whole nature preserve. We also had a deer in our yard the other day, and we have a fox family that lives. It's pretty crazy. Coming from New York City to this.
I was thinking this is probably some redneck being like, what's she talking about? I got a beaver sitting on my shoulder with me right now.
Beaver?
I only find random animals. I was thinking of a random animal.
I feel like it would have been more prevalent if you said like I have cows or horses or goats, but a beaver on your shoulder is mad random.
Yeah, I'm saying that's how crazy their life is probably.
Yeah, for us coming from New York City, this is a lot of nature and we're not used to it and it's very exciting.
I'm not as giddy as Jess. It's cool. Just sounds
Russ,
giddy.
you ordered 3 carnivorous plants and you're obsessed with them and he'll only give them distilled water.
Wait, you Because if you don't, they just die automatically.
Well, you looked up the proper way to take care of them. You got bugs and berries food for the birds because you looked up the best bird food.
Yo, pro tip, get bugs and berries. You get a lot of birds.
Anyway.
Well, I changing the subject, but so I love Petty.
Yes, we know you love Petty. You are Petty Pendergrass.
Yup.
That is your nickname.
Petty LaBelle, Petty Wop.
Not only are you the mold, but you're Petty AF.
Yeah. So this is probably too far for me. So the Uruguay Football Association, which is like their soccer team, they canceled the team's private plane home because they lost and told them, find your own way home. And they had to get commercial flights. And this is true.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a good one. Also, though, one more thing I saw was cool. Did you see about the Mexican Batman? He's going around getting criminals, duct taping them to poles, and drawing on their faces because he's tired of the criminals.
He's literally duct taping them, like wrapping their entire body.
Yeah, they can't move at all. They're stuck there until people come and find them. There's a video of him, but I'm pretty sure everyone's okay with it.
Does he dress like Batman?
No, I think it was just like a shadowy motorcycle guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just like got off his motorcycle, like, what are you doing? And taped him to a pole. Now, I may or may not have seen that video or made that up. I think I saw that video.
I was going to say, like, what does he wear? Does he wear like a ski mask or
A
something?
cape, obviously.
A cape?
Yes, he wears clothes.
But I mean, is he like trying to disguise
He's out there like Meteor Man, like in a bullshit.
No, they called him Batman. So I was curious if he disguised his identity or
maybe they call, I don't know how they say it in Spanish.
Also, did he catch the thieves in the midst of thieving? Is that how he saw them trying to steal something, so then he duct taped them to a pole?
Let's go with that.
Okay. So you don't even know.
I don't know if there's that much crime going on all the time to just circle around the block and see someone getting mugged.
Well, I did look at all the pictures because on the post that I shared, you could scroll through all the pictures. I also did not read the story. I just saw it and I was like, oh, this is so funny. And when you look at the pictures of these people duct taped to poles, it's hilarious.
But as of like 2 days ago, he's done it to 5 people.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's out there, and I guess we all need our own Batman.
Yeah. Wow, that's funny. Well, we're back for our regularly scheduled program. We took a few weeks. We had the crime capsule episodes. Those were really fun, actually, to like go back and listen and then re-talk about where we were at the time when we recorded and like all the things we loved about the episodes. I thought that they were a lot of fun.
Yeah. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
Really? You didn't think they would be good?
I didn't know. I was like, I don't remember shit. And then I hate listening to me. And so I had to listen to me. You know?
Well, they turned out really good, but we are back to our regularly scheduled program. So this month on the Patreon, I talked about it last week, because they keep dropping all of these #1 true crime docs that keep going viral.
Dropping bombs like Flex.
We are going to watch Maternal Instinct because everyone is begging us to watch it.
Let's do a quick poll on Patreon where they want to do Maternal Instinct.
Maternal Instinct.
And Michael Jackson. Let's do a
Because you
poll.
really want to watch Michael Jackson.
Because I prefer Michael Jackson.
But it's not like we're not going to watch Michael Jackson. We're just going to watch Maternal Instinct first.
So you don't even want there to be a chance that they want Michael Jackson, me to be right. I'm just asking what would they rather? Because maybe the quiet ones are the ones that want Michael Jackson.
Fine. We'll do a poll.
Thanks.
I'll post it after we're done recording.
I was like pulling teeth.
I'll do a poll and we'll see what they say.
Yeah, how hard does it take?
85% of our audience are women. And literally the messages we've gotten, so many of them asking for your opinion.
Hey, the ladies love Russ.
Your opinion on Maternal Instinct. So you're probably going to lose this one, but we'll see.
No, I'm just seeing because I feel like you're trying to trick me.
I'm not trying to trick you.
You want to watch it. Because I know there's going to be like a bad mom and abuse. You could just tell by the title.
Not really, but don't read it because I want you to go in blind. So
that's how I came into this podcast.
So
I walked in and I rolled out.
Oh, Russ. So that's what we're going to do for Patreon. We'll put up a poll, and then whatever the people decide is the one we're going to watch, and we're going to watch it in the next couple days and record it.
Yeah.
And you have the patron shout-outs.
I do. So you guys know I do the Patreon shout-outs every week, and you go over there and you chill with us and get stuff. And look over there if you're interested in extra cool stuff that we do. And this week's joiners are Tracy, Kim, Corinne, Brandon, Ashley, Jackie, Danielle, Jessica, Robbie, and Ashley. So, cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
I had to bring back the beer. I had to.
You haven't had a beer in a while.
It makes me feel full.
Yeah.
And as every woman says, probably about 5-6 times a day, I feel bloated.
We do get bloated, bro.
All day long. I'm bloated.
No, but bloating is a thing.
At some point, it might be that the belly's just getting bigger and it's not bloated.
No. It's very uncomfortable to be bloated. He's going to get punched.
Every girl is so mad right now.
You guys we can collectively give him a smack.
They're probably like, yeah, but my stomach feels bloated right now.
Right? Everyone's so annoyed at you. Excuse me, you've never had a period. Excuse me, you've never had to deal with any of that stuff that causes bloating.
I broke my back.
True. Okay. There is no competition. Well,
yeah.
You have another job.
Yeah.
So get to it.
All right. So this week's review is from Megan V. 5 stars. Never fails to crack me up how little Russ knows about children and the South. Sincerely, a Southern stay-at-home mom of 4.
It's true. You know literally nothing about children or the South.
I just thought of this now, because before I was like, oh, that's a sweet review.
What?
That's like a bless your heart review.
Yeah.
Because it's like a slight roast in there, but like sincerely a nice mom. I see what you're doing there.
That is a bless your heart.
Yeah. As Jess would have said when she was a kid, press your heart.
When I was little, I thought that when they would say, oh, bless your heart, I thought people were saying press your heart. So I was like 4 years old walking around saying, press your heart.
Aw, with your little bowl cut looking cute.
Aw, leave my bowl cut alone.
She looked like, what's her name? She looked like a man.
No, I didn't.
You had, like,
I
that
looked
bowl.
like Dora the Explorer for a while. I had like the straight across bangs and the little bob.
Oh.
And then my mom decided to cut my hair very short. Carrie. She cut it very short. And she was going for Demi Moore from Ghost.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well,
it was very short, and I cried my eyes out in kindergarten because Jeffrey Cooper, I will never forget, said to me, you should play the daddy when we play house because you look like a boy.
Jeffrey was funny.
Yo.
It was funny.
I was pissed.
He's clever.
I was pissed. I was sad. I was humiliated. I hated my hair.
And you still talk about it in therapy, probably.
I do.
You really brought up your hair.
No, I'm kidding. But I have.
Look what you did to her,
Listen,
Carrie.
I've had a lot of bad haircuts in my life, so. But no, I don't talk about it in therapy. Okay. Now, this episode this week is insane. Really insane. A few years ago, I came across a podcast called Empire City. And it's about the history of the NYPD. Okay. And I loved it. If you're into history, I highly recommend it. But what that podcast really did was make me realize that there is this huge gap in my knowledge when it comes to the history of New York City. Do you feel like you know a lot about the history of New York City?
Only from that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Gangs of New York.
Oh,
That's
Gangs
all the
of New
history
York.
I know.
Was he in that? I don't know. Was it? Oh, yeah, he was in that.
I think so.
Yeah, he was. That was a really good movie, Gangs of New York.
That was.
Yeah. The story I'm telling you today is a really history-heavy case, okay? And I haven't done a history-heavy case in a long time. I haven't done it since the Witch Hunts episode back in October.
Wow.
So
that was a good one.
It was a good one. And I love history. And we have a lot of history nerds that love it too. And they love when I do really historical heavy cases. So this one was so interesting for me to research. And it's around the time period of Gangs of New York. So put that in your head. Okay?
Handlebar mustaches and the shit.
Yes. So like think Gangs of New York and that time period the whole time I'm talking about this.
Bet.
Imagine living in what is now considered one of the most progressive cities in America. But at any moment, someone could point at you and say, "You're not who you say you are." And just like that, you're arrested, thrown in jail, and put in front of a judge. Then shipped hundreds of miles away to another state, never to be seen or heard from again. It almost sounds unbelievable, like too unbelievable to be true. Just random people getting kidnapped and sent away. But it happened hundreds of times to hundreds of men, women, and children. And the craziest part is that it was completely legal. I think the thing about history is sometimes we're taught a version of events that's easier to digest, a version that makes us a little less uncomfortable. But every once in a while, you stumble onto a story that makes you realize there's a whole other side that no one is really talking about. And that's exactly what happened to me. After listening to that podcast, I went searching for more answers because who am I? I'm the grown-up why kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
One book turned into another, and then court records, and then newspaper articles, and diaries. And before I knew it, I was completely obsessed with this story. Because I learned about a network of men whose entire business was snatching people off the streets of New York City. They took people from their jobs, from their homes, even their classrooms, and then sent them south and got paid for it. The people fighting against them gave their network a name: the New York Kidnapping Club.
Oh, shit.
Now, when I first heard that name, I pictured exactly what you're probably picturing right now. Some like underground gang or criminals operating in secret. Maybe a bunch of guys meeting in the back room of a tavern somewhere planning their next victim.
Bunch of losers in the closet that are scared to come out.
But I couldn't have been more wrong. Because the Kidnapping Club wasn't really a club at all. It was a network. Judges, constables, lawyers, politicians, ordinary people who all played different roles in the same machine. And once I realized who these men really were, I couldn't stop asking this question. How was this ever allowed to happen? This is the insane story of the New York Kidnapping Club. Are you ready?
Yes.
7-year-old Henry Scott was sitting in class, practicing his letters, when the classroom door opened and 2 men walked in. One of them was a sheriff. The other was a man that no one recognized. The 2 men walked straight over to Henry and said they had come for him. They said he needed to be sent back to Virginia, back to the family he belonged to. His teacher looked completely confused. "No, sir," she said. "His parents live here in New York, just down the street from the school." But the men insisted there had been a mistake. Henry wasn't supposed to be in New York at all, they said. He belonged in Virginia. By now, the classroom had gotten noisy. The children could tell something was wrong, and they were getting nervous and uneasy. Some stood up from their desks trying to see what was happening, and others started whispering nervously to one another. The commotion got the attention of the principal, and he rushed into the room, and he immediately began arguing with the men. The teachers insisted they had the wrong kid. Henry lived with his family right here in New York City. He went to school there every day. Everyone knew him. But the men wouldn't back down. As the adults argued, Henry started to cry. And then the room exploded. Kids started yelling, "Kidnappers! Kidnappers.
Oh, good.
Leave him alone. Children jumped up from their seats.
Wow.
Some of them even ran out of the school looking for help, while others followed behind as they grabbed Henry by one arm and pulled him out of the school and down the street.
Wow.
The teachers, the principal, and even the children tried to stop it, but the men just kept walking, pulling Henry as his feet shuffled and tears were streaming down his face. And just like that, a little boy who had just started his day practicing his letters was being pulled away from his school while everyone around him watched, powerless to stop it. The men claimed that they had the law on their side, but the most terrifying part is they were telling the truth. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, how can something like this happen? How could a 7-year-old kid be dragged out of a classroom in broad daylight while teachers, parents, neighbors, and an entire community stood by helplessly? Well, Henry Scott wasn't the first child that this happened to, and he definitely wasn't the last. Because the more I researched this case, the more I realized Henry's story wasn't some horrifying exception. It was happening over and over again. Black men disappeared walking home from work. Black women disappeared off the streets. Children disappeared while running errands, or like Henry, while sitting in a classroom.
That's crazy. Was there like a talk amongst the community like, there's people just missing?
Yes. Some were eventually found, but many weren't. So I started asking myself, why New York City? Because when I think of slavery, I picture cotton fields,
Yeah.
Mississippi, Alabama, plantations in Georgia. I don't picture New York City.
No.
But that's because we weren't really taught this version of New York City.
Oh.
Today, New York is known as this giant melting pot, a city where people from all over the world come chasing opportunity, a place that celebrates diversity and reinvention. But the New York City Henry Scott grew up in was a very different city. Long before the city we know today, New York was a slave city. Slaves had been living and working there since the 1600s. They built roads, docks, homes, churches, businesses. They helped build New York. At one point, nearly half of the households in New York City owned enslaved people. There was even a slave market on Wall Street, where men, women, and children were bought and sold just a few blocks from what would eventually become the financial capital of the world. Now, slavery officially ended in New York in 1827, which means Henry Scott should have been safe because he was taken away from that classroom on March 29th, 1834.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of years.
That's what I thought too. But abolishing slavery and getting rid of the people making money from slavery, now that turned out to be two very different things.
Sounds like a black market. No pun intended. That came out weird.
You have to remember, New York wasn't growing the cotton, but it was making a shitload of money from it.
Probably selling it.
Ships packed with Southern cotton poured into the New York harbor every day.
That's mafia shit probably, too.
Merchants sold it. Banks financed it. Insurance companies insured it. Factory owners depended on it. Even though slavery was happening hundreds of miles away, New York City's economy was deeply connected to it. And as long as there was money to be made, there were people willing to protect the system. So for people escaping slavery, though, New York represented something completely different. It was a place they dreamed of, a beacon of hope, a chance to disappear into a city of thousands of people, a place with growing free Black communities, churches, schools, and abolitionists willing to help them start over. So to someone down south escaping slavery, New York looked like freedom. But freedom in New York came with a catch. Because while some people were building new lives, other people were building whole-ass careers hunting them down.
Wait, hunting down the black people to take them?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say hunting them down to bring them back home or something.
Hunting them down to send them back to the South.
Shit.
So the more I dug into these cases, the more I kept seeing the same names. Because this was a network. And abolitionists eventually gave that network a name, the Kidnapping Club. Now, despite the name, it wasn't actually a club. There was no membership cards or secret meetings in a smoke-filled room in Manhattan. It was something much more dangerous than that. It was a network of constables, lawyers, judges, politicians, and slave catchers who all played different roles in the same system. No single person carried out every kidnapping, but the same names kept popping up over and over again. And one name showed up more than almost any other. A man named Tobias Boudinot. And the more I learned about Tobias Boudinot, the more he became the face of this entire operation. Not because he was the most powerful man involved. He wasn't. He was a constable, a man whose job was supposed to be enforcing the law.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was wondering what a constable was.
Oh, really? You never heard of what a constable is? Did you ever watch Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
You don't remember the constable? He would come.
He was the cop?
Yeah, the cop. He's the constable. It's like they were the predecessors of the NYPD.
Oh.
These constables in New York City.
They were whooping some ass back then.
Well, clearly. Tobias Boudinot wasn't the most powerful man involved. He was a constable, a man whose job was supposed to be enforcing the law. But Boudinot wasn't exactly living the high life. The pay for constables back then was terrible. He was constantly in debt. And at one point, creditors actually showed up to his apartment and started just carrying furniture out of his house.
Shit.
Literally, because he couldn't pay his bills. But before you start feeling sorry for this guy, don't. By every account I read, Tobias Boudinot was a racist bigot who had absolutely no problem treating black men, women, and children as property instead of people. The money didn't create his prejudice. It rewarded it.
Ooh.
And that's what made him dangerous. Because policing back then didn't look anything like it does today. This was before the NYPD existed. These constables were the predecessors to the NYPD. There were no detectives dusting for fingerprints or patrol cars or crime labs.
They didn't even have fingerprints back then.
They did have fingerprints. I don't know when fingerprint dusting came into play.
Yeah, they didn't have fingerprints back then.
You're an idiot.
That didn't come out till probably like the 50s. Like, hey, see, I got a fingerprint here.
I love that. That's when men sounded so cool. Hey, she.
She was a dame, see? Took her to dinner and a movie.
Constables like Boudinot were paid for the work they performed on like an as-needed basis.
Oh, so like, hey, I got a warrant.
Exactly. Serve a warrant, recover stolen property, locate a suspect, and then they get paid for each job.
It's like he's doing DoorDash policing.
Yeah, exactly. He's like an independent contractor.
1 star.
There was money to be made, though. And then slavery handed Tobias Boudinot the opportunity of a lifetime. Slaveholders from the South were offering rewards for escaped slaves. Newspapers were filled with advertisements promising cash for anyone who could find them, arrest them, and return them to the South.
So obviously there were going to be some piece of shits taking advantage of the system right there. It's saying, bring black people here and we'll give you money.
Absolutely.
That's what it's really saying. They knew what was happening.
Of course they did. Yeah, they knew what was happening. They didn't view black people as people. They saw them as property. So now, every kidnapped man, woman, and child was a payday. And once money entered the equation, every black person around him became a potential suspect. But of course, Boudinot couldn't just grab someone off the street, send them to the South by himself. He needed help. He needed lawyers willing to prepare the paperwork. He needed politicians willing to support the system. And most importantly, he needed judges willing to sign off on it.
Wow. So he was like doing it in an organized way.
This is a whole network. This is a whole system.
Wow.
Men like Judge Richard Riker. Once someone was arrested, they still needed a legal process to happen. At least that's what it looked like on the surface. Because for many Black New Yorkers, stepping into Richard Riker's courtroom felt less like entering a court of law and more like walking into a trap. Riker was one of the most powerful judges in New York City, serving as the city's recorder. Again and again, his name appeared in cases involving alleged fugitive slaves. According to abolitionists, if a slave catcher brought you before Richard Riker, your chances of remaining free dropped to pretty much nothing.
Wow.
Now, Riker would have argued that he was simply enforcing the law. That's what judges do. They don't make the rules, they apply them. So the process would go like this. A slaveholder would make a claim. A slave catcher made an accusation. A Black man, woman, or child insisted they were free because they were. And somehow, the benefit of the doubt always seemed to flow in the same direction. Tobias Budno and Richard Riker were two parts of the same machine. One hunted people down, and the other gave the process legitimacy.
Yeah, because there's not like good records. It's a computer. You might not everyone has paperwork.
It's all on paper.
You might not have the paper. It might have got wet.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing. These free Black people who they had to carry free papers around.
Wow.
I mean, that's what, for years and years, anyone who was a free Black person in America had to carry free papers. And they're just paper. Like you said, it could get wet. Something could happen. I'm sure they protected that with their lives.
They probably had a friend like, yo, he makes free papers. Get some. We're out of here.
Probably. Of course. The Underground Railroad probably had some sort of setup like that. So that's exactly what happened to Henry Scott. After being dragged out of his classroom, 7-year-old Henry wasn't put on a ship and sent to Virginia, not yet. Instead, Richard Riker ordered that he be taken to a place a lot of New Yorkers know to this day.
Spofford.
A jail called
The Tombs.
Yes. Ugh. And the Tombs was around...
the same one?
The same one.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's the same one.
Well, that was built to last.
Riker ordered that Henry stay locked up there, while the man claiming Henry was his property was given time to come up with the paperwork to prove it. That's the part of the story that really gets me. The fact that there is a 7-year-old little boy, 7, alone, in jail, and of all jails, the Tombs. The Tombs has a reputation. Someone I know has been there. And they know how disgusting it is.
All jails are nasty.
So the fact that this 7-year-old little boy was sitting in jail, and of all jails, the Tombs. Yeah. Can you imagine?
I mean, they're literally just keeping him in a cage while someone drafts up some papers so they can keep him. That's what's going on.
Yeah. 1 minute you're practicing your letters in school, surrounded by your classmates. And the next, you're inside one of the most feared and disgusting prisons in the country. Because it was back then, too. Just as disgusting as it is today, it had a reputation back then when it first was built for being disgusting.
Criminals probably doing all these crimes and stuff out there aren't always the cleanest people. If you're stealing, you probably shit on your luck, too.
And he just sat there, wondering where his parents are. Wondering if they even knew where he was. The Tombs wasn't just a jail. It was and is still infamous. The building itself looked like an ancient Egyptian tomb, and that's how it got its nickname. It had been built on top of what used to be Collect Pond, and because the ground beneath it was so unstable, the place was constantly damp.
Oh.
History describes the smell of sewage, stale air that barely moved, way overcrowded cells, and conditions so filthy that even grown men dreaded being locked up there. It was where people accused of murder, robbery, and every crime imaginable waited for a trial. And somewhere inside those walls was Henry, little 7-year-old Henry, alone and terrified. A little boy who hadn't broken a law, who hadn't stolen anything, who hadn't hurt anybody. His only crime was being born black in a city where 2 grown men could point at you and say, you belong to somebody else. And the thing is, Henry wasn't the only one sitting in those cells. Free black men and women had been ending up there for years after being accused of being runaway slaves.
That is so scary.
It's terrifying. Some eventually would walk back out the doors.
What?
But many, like hundreds, never did. Because once the kidnapping club started moving, it moved fast. A hearing before Richard Riker, a signature on a piece of paper, a wagon to the docks, and a ship headed south. It would all happen in a matter of 2 to 3 days.
I was wondering how they got them there because I was thinking, did they have cars back then?
Oh, no, they didn't have cars. Remember, you're in the mindset of Gangs of New York. There are no cars.
I thought they might have like a Model T or something.
No, they get on a ship.
Oh.
You know there's no cars back then, Russ. This is the 1800s, please.
Oh, 18s? Well, I thought cars came around.
This is before slavery was abolished.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
This is before the Civil
That's
War.
way back.
For some families, their loved one was already gone back south before they even knew where to start looking. That's how fast this happened.
So that means your kid is still alive, but he's a slave.
Yes.
And you have no clue.
You have no idea where he went.
And he's telling
Or
people
your
over
husband,
there, and they don't give a shit.
Your husband, your wife, like any of your family members, snatched, sent to the South, never see them again. But Henry's story was about to unfold a little differently. Because this time, people refused to look away. Word spread through New York almost immediately. It spread through classrooms, churches, through homes and businesses, through the city's free black community. The small but growing network of abolitionists who had spent years trying to expose this type of corruption.
What's an abolitionist?
An abolitionist is someone who fought to end slavery.
Oh.
A lot of them there were white abolitionists and black abolitionists, and they would form coalitions, and they were very outspoken against slavery.
Hopefully I hope they get some vigilante justice on these people.
People couldn't believe that a child had been dragged out of school in broad daylight and thrown into jail.
Yeah, see, that's crazy because everyone sees it. That's not like catching a kid going to the store for some candy or something.
No.
It's so deliberate.
It's so deliberate and out in the open.
Ugh.
And eventually, the story reached a man named David Ruggles. If Tobias Boudinot spent his days hunting people, David Ruggles spent his trying to bring them home. David Ruggles is an amazing person. I can't wait to tell you about him. David was a free black man born in Connecticut who had moved to New York in his late teens. And from the moment he got there, he saw exactly what was happening.
Wow.
He saw free black men disappearing off the streets. He saw families torn apart. He saw slave catchers walking through New York like they owned the place, backed by judges and politicians who were more interested in protecting property than protecting people.
See, it would be amazing if he turned into the black Batman the way we had the Mexican Batman.
He almost does, but in a different way. He's amazing. Most people would have looked at a system that powerful and decided there was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
But David Ruggles wasn't most people. He believed something that I think is so important. He believed freedom wasn't something you talked about. It wasn't some nice idea you debated over dinner while somebody else's family was being ripped apart. If someone needed help, you helped them.
Preach.
Right then. If someone had been kidnapped, you go looking for them. If slave catchers were waiting at the docks, you went to the docks.
Preach.
If a frightened man or woman knocked on your door in the middle of the night with nowhere to go, you let them in. And that's exactly what he did. David opened what became the first Black-owned bookstore in the United States.
Wow.
But calling it a bookstore almost doesn't do it justice. It was a reading room for Black New Yorkers who weren't allowed in public libraries.
Good for this dude, man.
It was a meeting place for abolitionists. It was a headquarters, a safe house, a place where people could disappear from the men trying to drag them back to slavery.
Wasn't there like a movie about just this bookstore? Like,
I know, just David Ruggles and his bookstore. I know.
Yeah, like probably all the characters in and out and all the times they've snuck people in and helped them and just all. It probably is like
it's an amazing story when you go deep and start looking at David Ruggles' life. I'm giving you an overview, but if you really start looking into him, he's amazing.
Yeah, like why doesn't he have a day or a holiday? You know, like he sounds amazing. And he didn't. It sounds like he wasn't one of those people that just talk. A lot of people could talk.
Yeah, he wasn't just a talker, he was a doer.
I ignore people's words and just look at their actions.
Well, if you were looking for freedom in New York City, there was a good chance your journey would eventually lead you to David Ruggles' front door. Over the years, he helped hundreds of people escape slavery. One of those people was a young man who had just arrived in New York after risking everything to escape Maryland. He was exhausted, frightened, and completely alone, and David took him in, found him a safe place to stay, and helped him begin a new life. And that young man would eventually change his name to Frederick Douglass. But what made David different wasn't just the people he saved. It was the people he was willing to fight. Most abolitionists wrote speeches, but David wrote down names. Tobias Boudinot, Daniel Nash, Richard Riker. He wanted Black New Yorkers to know exactly who these men were because he believed knowledge could save lives.
Let's go make that hit list.
He printed all their names in the newspaper, telling people to stay away from them. He warned families about the neighborhoods that they worked and the tricks that they used and the danger that they posed. Imagine the guts it took. These weren't just random criminals. They were constables, judges, lawyers, men with badges and political connections.
I was just thinking, how does he stay free? Because they could just say you did something. Hey, arrest him and say he killed someone. Like it doesn't matter.
David wasn't whispering about them behind closed doors. He was calling them out in public. He was telling everyone who they were and exposing everything. And they hated him for it. The more kidnappings David exposed, the bigger of a problem he became. And after a while, the men doing the hunting decided they were tired of being hunted themselves. So one night, just after 1 o'clock in the morning, a bunch of men showed up outside of David Ruggles' house. And they weren't there to ask questions. They weren't there to debate. They came with a warrant, claiming David himself was a fugitive slave.
Oh, shit.
Think about how absurd this was. David was a born free man in Connecticut. He was never in the South.
And everyone knows.
Everyone knew it.
Yeah, because he's not like just some random guy. Everyone knows where he came from.
Yeah, everyone knows him. Everyone in the Black community knows him. And everyone in the white community knows him because he's so outspoken. And these men knew that, but it didn't matter.
Wow.
The same system that was swallowing up free people all over New York had now turned its attention to the man who kept exposing them. Luckily, someone warned David that they were coming, and he managed to avoid being taken because he left before they got there.
You definitely tricked me. I was thinking they got him.
They didn't get him. Most people would have probably packed a bag and found somewhere else to live. Just moved to another state and settled down.
Yeah, like, fuck this shit.
But David did the exact opposite. The very next morning, he walked straight to City Hall to report what happened. And waiting for him was Tobias Boudinot.
Ruggles must be able to fight.
Oh, yeah.
He got to be able to fight because he's
a G.
Yeah. And probably a gun. I mean, he has ways of defending himself because he's in danger all the time.
So David walks into City Hall to report that the men just tried to kidnap him in the middle of the night. And instead of someone taking his statement, Tobias Boudinot is there waiting, and he arrests him. Not because he committed any type of crime, because Tobias reached into his pocket and pulled out a 4-year-old warrant that basically said he had the right to arrest any black man fitting this vague description, and he could say that that was a fugitive slave.
Wow.
And just like that, the man who spent years pulling innocent people out of the jaws of the kidnapping club found himself standing exactly where many of its victims had stood before him. These men thought they got him, and they were proud of themselves. But thankfully, the plan didn't work. Abolitionists rallied around David almost immediately. They knew exactly who he was. They knew where he'd been born. They knew the charges were ridiculous. Everyone knew who David Ruggles was. So after a few days, he was released. But if the kidnapping club had hoped that arrest would scare him into keeping his mouth shut, they picked the wrong guy.
Lit a fire.
If anything, David came back louder. He helped organize something called the New York Committee of Vigilance. And I love them because they weren't just sitting around writing strongly worded letters to the newspaper, hoping someone in power would eventually read it and do the right thing. These people got to work. If someone disappeared, they investigated it. If someone had been arrested, they found lawyers for these people. If a family needed money, they raised it. If a slave catcher was seen in the neighborhood, they warned everyone they could before another family lost a loved one. It was almost like an old-fashioned neighborhood watch, except instead of watching for burglars and people committing crimes, they were watching for the kidnapping club.
That's crazy. You're watching for kidnappers. It reminds me of, what's that movie where the guy's coming down the street kidnapping the kids with lollipops and taking them off in cages?
Yeah.
Is that Chitty Bang Bang?
Yeah, Chitty Bang. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just like sneaking out and everyone has to run in their house. Like, here comes the fucking people catchers.
It's insane. So even though David and all of the abolitionists and the New York Committee of Vigilance was fighting hard to save people, the kidnapping club, unfortunately, was still winning. One case that really stuck with me when I was researching all of this was the case of a man named Peter John Lee. Peter wasn't hiding. He wasn't living under a fake name. He had a job, a wife, a child. People in the community knew him. By every account, he was a hardworking, respected man, and he built his life in Rye, New York.
It's nice up there now.
Then one day, someone he knew, a man he thought was his friend, convinced him to go down to New York City with him.
Oh, shit.
It seemed harmless, but it was a setup. The moment Peter crossed over into the city, Tobias Boudinot and Daniel Nash were waiting.
Wow.
And he was arrested. He was set up by one of his friends who was another black man.
Another black man?
Yes. Set him up.
Oh.
Because he was getting paid by Boudinot and Nash to do this. He was then chained at the ankles and wrists and taken to the port of New York and shipped right to a plantation in Virginia. The community was in an uproar. His neighbors fought for him. The whole community fought for him. David Ruggles fought for him. There was even a jury trial, and the jury eventually ruled against Daniel Nash and Tobias Boudinot and awarded $1,500 of damages to Peter's family.
Wow.
But here's the part that made my stomach drop. Nobody ever brought Peter home.
What?
Think about that.
So they gave that money they paid for their dad, or...
The court admitted something wrong had happened. But Peter stayed in slavery.
Oh, my God.
His wife lost her husband and she was powerless. His child lost a father. That's how broken the system was. Justice, when it came too late. And sadly, Peter John Lee was lost to history. After being taken to Virginia, no one knows what ever happened to him. He's just gone.
Wow.
And that's exactly why Henry Scott's story mattered so much. Because while David Ruggles was fighting for people like Peter John Lee, little 7-year-old Henry was still sitting in the tombs, waiting. He had no idea what was happening outside of those walls. He didn't know that people all over New York City were beginning to talk about him, that his parents were desperate, begging for anyone to help them get their son back. He didn't know that the teachers were refusing to let the story die. He didn't know how churches were talking about a little boy who was dragged out of the classroom. He didn't know David Ruggles and other abolitionists were watching this case unfold, already preparing to fight a battle against the Kidnapping Club. He was 7. All he knew is he wanted to go home.
Dragging out of school is like the most deliberate fuck you.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like we do what we want and we don't give a fuck.
They walk into a school and just take a kid and throw him in the tombs and put him on a jury trial, and then they're trying to send him to some random plantation.
And still have the nerve to walk the streets.
Yes, it's crazy. I know, I'm telling you, the whole time I was like researching this, I'll get into it later. I'll tell you my sources. I was just astounded by all of this. But outside the jail, something extraordinary was happening. The children from Henry's school, get this, the children from Henry's school couldn't stop talking about what they had seen. I mean, they were traumatized.
Yeah,
right?
because now they feel like they could get ripped out of there too.
Imagine being one of those kids. You show up to school expecting like an ordinary day. You're practicing your letters beside your friend, and then 2 grown men walk in your classroom and drag your friend away while he's crying. And no matter how loud the teachers and all the adults around you are yelling, they can't stop them.
Literal horror story.
How do you get back to math after that? How do you pretend everything is normal? You don't. Those children decided they were going to do something. They started bringing pennies to school. Just a few at first. A penny from one kid, 2 pennies from another. Parents heard what they were doing and started giving what they could. Neighbors chipped in. Members of New York's Black community stepped up. Churches collected donations, and little by little, those pennies turned into dollars, and those dollars became something that Henry desperately needed. He needed a legal defense.
Yeah.
This part hit me really hard. Maybe it's because children, they understand fairness the way adults forget. Like kids are always saying, that's not fair.
Oh, guarantee you were the biggest not fairer.
I was a big not fair, for sure. I still am, right? And these kids saw it. And they were like, this isn't fair. We have to help our friend.
Yeah. You need the girl in the class that talks a lot. There's always that girl that talks loud and is too much. That was probably Jess.
Probably me, yeah.
I wonder how many other people married the loud talking girl in school. How I would have known that.
Shut up. So these kids didn't know constitutional law. They didn't know politics. They didn't know how Richard Riker's courtroom worked. They just knew their friend had been taken and they wanted him back. And all they knew is they needed to try to do something. So they started gathering their change. While all of this was happening, Richard Haxel, who is the man who claimed Henry was his runaway slave,
Needs to kill him.
he still hadn't produced any of the documents that he claimed to have and he claimed would prove that Henry belonged to his family. Under New York law, if you're claiming another human as property through an agent, you have to prove it. And Haxel couldn't. So Richard Riker had every opportunity to end this nightmare, but he didn't. Instead, he bought Haxel more time. Time that could have cost this little boy his freedom. But this time, something was a little different. This time, there were too many eyes on this case, too many people paying attention, too many people asking questions, too many people refusing to quietly just accept what was happening. So the legal fight grew louder. The community grew louder, and David Ruggles kept pushing. The Committee of Vigilance kept pushing.
Good.
And eventually the system failed. And Henry Scott was finally released.
Wow.
Because they couldn't prove that Henry was a runaway slave because he wasn't.
Or the system succeeded in doing what it was supposed to do. Not enslaved.
sending him to
Yes,
slavery.
that's the system working.
Yeah. Can you imagine that moment? His parents finally see him walking out of the door of the court.
How long was he in there?
He was in there for a few weeks.
Wow. He was probably so scared, the little baby.
The little boy who'd been dragged out of school in front of everyone was finally coming home.
Oh, man, when he goes to school, he'll be the most popular kid in school.
Henry Scott walked out of the tombs a free little boy, but the truth is, the Kidnapping Club didn't disappear just because Henry made it home. Tobias Boudinot didn't suddenly wake up with a conscience. Richard Riker didn't resign in shame. Daniel Nash didn't decide he'd had enough kidnapping people. The machine that swallowed up so many Black New Yorkers was still very much alive. And David Ruggles knew better than anyone. There would be many more kidnappings, more frantic families, more courtrooms, more nights spent searching the docks before another ship sailed south. There would be victories, but there would also be heartbreaking losses. People like Peter John Lee, who, despite an entire community fighting for him, never made it home. Mothers like Margaret Baker, who desperately begged for help only to watch herself and all of her children disappear and be sent to slavery before anyone could stop it. Henry's story was extraordinary, not because what happened to him was unique, because sadly it wasn't, but because his story had an ending that so many others didn't get. David Ruggles refused to stop. He kept exposing kidnappers by name. He kept organizing the Committee of Vigilance. He kept hiding runaway slaves and raising money for legal defenses, confronting slave catchers in the streets, and risking his own life every single day. He was jumped. His house was set on fire multiple times. Can you believe that? They literally set his house on fire. And you know what he would do? He would rebuild it and move right back in.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming the community would help him.
Yeah. But he was also jumped multiple times.
Yeah, I was saying he has to know how to fight if he's really out there putting himself in the line, a way of defending himself, or be really fast. I don't know.
Well, it came at an enormous cost. His bookstore was attacked. He was arrested. Men tried to kidnap him many times using the same system that he spent years fighting.
The refrain it probably took to not just shoot these people in the head when they come,
Yeah.
because that's how they would get them.
Yeah. By the time he left New York in the early 1840s, his health was shattered. Years of constant stress and violence and physical attacks left him almost completely blind.
Oh, man.
He would eventually die at just 39 years old.
Damn, he didn't make it long at all.
No. He did all of this fighting in his 20s and early 30s before he started getting really sick.
I wonder what he had.
So it's unknown because David Ruggles actually kept really diligent journals. So a lot of the stuff I learned about him were from his own journals. And a lot of the stuff that I learned about the Kidnapping Club were also from his journals. He wrote everything down.
Wow, that's good.
So it's kind of a mystery illness, but he was beat up so many times. He also was under immense stress. So they don't know what caused him to go blind, but a lot of people, like historians, attribute it to all of his physical attacks and the stress that he was under. So then, just when people thought things couldn't possibly get any worse, Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. If the Kidnapping Club had been operating with one hand tied behind its back before, this law cut the rope. The Fugitive Slave Act didn't create slave catching in the North. It legalized it and strengthened the system that had already been terrorizing Black communities for decades. It gave federal commissioners the power to order alleged fugitives to return to slavery without a jury trial.
Oh, so that's just a judge and...
It's just literally, we're grabbing you, we're using the Fugitive Slave Act as our reasoning, and you go back to slavery. Or you go to slavery that you never were in, we're just claiming you're a slave that ran away. Yeah. So this Fugitive Slave Act was drafted in 1850 and signed into law in 1850. Henry's case happened in 1834. So this is 16 years after Henry's case. So think about the hundreds of people who have been kidnapped and got the opportunity for a jury trial, because this is the beginnings of jury trials. But now the Fugitive Slave Act means they can take them without a jury trial. Well, the Fugitive Slave Act was a way for the North to keep the South happy.
Fuck them.
The accused couldn't testify in their own defense either. The testimony of the person claiming ownership is the one that carried all the weight in court. It also punished ordinary citizens who tried to help freedom seekers escape. So people who tried to help the slaves escape. This act, the Fugitive Slave Act, this also included them, and you could be now arrested for helping.
Wow.
Suddenly, the work David Ruggles and the Committee of Vigilance had been doing for years became even more dangerous, because now the federal government wasn't just tolerating the system, it was enforcing it. You can almost feel the country pulling apart at that point. Every new case widened the divide between the North and the South. Every courtroom battle became something much bigger than just one person. Every child dragged out of a classroom, every father pulled from his job, every mother taken from her family, forced Americans to confront the question that they had spent decades trying to avoid. How long can a country who claims to believe in liberty allow human beings to be bought, sold, and hunted? And the answer, as it turned out, was not much longer, because just 11 years after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, the Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter and the Civil War began.
Crazy.
4 years later, slavery was abolished on paper. The legal foundation that had allowed the Kidnapping Club was finally destroyed. But I think reducing the story to the Civil War happened and everything got better misses the point. That's not the truth.
Yeah.
We know that. Because after slavery was abolished, down in Texas, they never told the slaves they were free.
Oh, shit.
That's why we celebrate Juneteenth, because a colonel from the North took a few hundred black soldiers, marched down to Texas to let the slaves know they were free, because for 2.5 years, no one told them. Because 2 years after the abolishment of slavery, these slaves had no idea that they were free.
I wonder how long it took for the slave owners to know.
They knew.
Oh, right away?
Yes.
Probably, right?
They just didn't tell the slaves.
Shit.
So finally, 2 years later, they went down and told these slaves in Texas, you're free. And those were the last people finally freed. And that's where Juneteenth came from.
I wonder if, like, I've been here for 2.5 years. I'm going to whoop your ass on the way out. Like.
Right? I know. So reducing the story to then the Civil War happened and everything got better kind of misses the point, because that's not what changed history. As we know, Black Americans still had an uphill battle for a very long time after. But history changed because of people like David Ruggles. David Ruggles refused to accept that the law and justice were the same thing. Because teachers argued, because parents organized, because lawyers fought, and children emptied their pockets 1 penny at a time for a classmate they refused to abandon.
That was like the first GoFundMe.
It was, yeah. They understood something that I think is just as true today as it was in 1834. Laws can be written by people, and systems can be corrupted by people, which means they can also be challenged by people. So when I started researching this case, I thought I was telling the story of the Kidnapping Club and Henry Scott. But somewhere along the way, I realized I wasn't. I'm telling the story of the people who stood in its way. Henry Scott survived because ordinary people decided what happened to him mattered. David Ruggles spent his life making sure that families weren't fighting alone. And almost 200 years later, we are still saying Henry Scott's name because enough people refused to let his story disappear.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about history. We tend to think of it as settled, like we've already heard the story and know how it ends.
Well, we all know the versions that they tell us in school.
Mm-hmm.
And we found out Epstein's family wrote the books.
Yeah, Maxwell's
family
wrote the books, yes.
Fucking pedos.
But history has a funny way of humbling you. Every once in a while, you come across a name, a court case, or a forgotten book that makes you realize the version you learned was only part of the story. Because the moment we stop asking questions, the moment we stop paying attention, the moment we decide someone else's fight, it's not our fight. That's the moment someone gets to tell us their version of what happened. So stay curious, folks. Be the Y kid, like me.
Yeah, I might not stay curious, but I'll let you tell me stuff.
I found this whole thing heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking and fascinating and inspiring, like all at once.
Yeah, it was a big emotional roller coaster because, you know, the kid gets kidnapped and then you got Ruggle over there putting his life on the line, dying young and accomplishing a lot and saving people. And
yeah,
you said ordinary people. I think they're extraordinary people, really. They're like putting their lives on the line for the bigger cause of other people.
Yeah. No, I mean, David Ruggles in history is just like, he's such a hero. The fact that he gave Frederick Douglass, who escaped slavery from Maryland, from right here in Maryland, gave him a place to stay, gave him a new life, and then he became Frederick Douglass. Like, that's nuts.
You don't know how far the tree goes back, man. Like, who inspired David Ruggle? Like, you know, who knows? Or maybe he was the first one to actually, like, take a stand.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, it's really fascinating. So I started listening to Empire City, and the Empire City is really the history of the NYPD, but the first 2 episodes of Empire City talk about this. So that's kind of what made me curious about the Kidnapping Club. And then I started going down the rabbit hole and went crazy. And then I listened to an audiobook. It's the like official source for everything related to the Kidnapping Club. So if you're interested in learning more, you should definitely look into it. It's called the New York Kidnapping Club. That's the name of the book.
Crazy.
Hold on, let me get the author. Dr. Jonathan Daniel Wells is who wrote it. And if you look anything related to the Kidnapping Club up, this is the book that's going to pop up because he knows the most about this. He went hard with his research. So I listened to the audiobook, and then I went through and read David Ruggles' journals and like different things online that have been published that he wrote. And it's just fascinating. And it really just, there's so many lessons to be learned here. Like, not only is it that you need to stay curious because we are told, we are propagandized too.
We are.
In so many ways. We are told what they want us to know.
Now, more so than ever, we're getting more information than ever, and people are learning about the corruption, and the tides are turning.
That's true, yes. But I feel like growing up, I didn't know that New York City was a slave city that profited off of slavery, that was so dead set on slavery not ending. I thought New York was in the North and it was a beacon of freedom and like hope. I had no idea how corrupt it was.
Yeah.
And until I learned about this. So it's really fascinating. And I just think it's so important for us to stay curious. And I just think learning that you can turn a blind eye on injustice if you want. You can mind your business. But these people saved Henry Scott and so many other people's lives. And David Ruggles saved so many people's lives because he didn't turn a blind eye. That sounds bad because he ended up going blind, but I didn't mean it like that. He didn't turn away and mind his business. He made it his business.
Well, there may be people out there that want to get involved and maybe they don't know how.
Yeah, true.
You know, I mean, there's a ton of social justice, social media warriors out there, but
that doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't.
But this man, he was in there. I mean, he risked his life, and he died young because of it.
Crazy. He's a hero.
He's definitely a hero.
Black Batman.
So this, with Juneteenth just happening, and I just thought it was the right time. I've been wanting to talk about this case for, this whole story for so long. And I don't nerd out on history often, but everyone knows I love it. Crime and history are my two favorite subjects. So if I can merge the two, I'm going to do it. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you learned something, Mr. New York.
Yeah, I learned.
And
my dad was kidnappers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that dude said, the gay dude, they're taking everybody.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
I can't remember.
Hide your wife, hide your kids, because they're taking everybody. He was on the Tosh.0 show. Everybody knows what I'm talking
Then he was gay, then he was straight, then he was gay.
Oh, yeah, he was gay.
Then he was straight.
No, now he's straight.
Now he's straight.
Now he got a wife.
Oh, he does?
But he's still gay.
But you are...
Well, he still acts gay.
You are the king of viral videos. So if you guys are interested, check out Empire City. Check out the book, The New York Kidnapping Club.
Yeah.
Super fascinating history stuff.
Yeah, and then make sure all you Patreon people go over there and vote which documentary you want us to watch, probably like tomorrow or the next day. And hopefully you have good taste and you like the King of Pop. Don't be lame.
You know that the Michael Jackson documentary is 3 episodes, right? That was really good.
I did 2 for you today. I did the old 50s guy and I did Michael Jackson.
Wow. All right, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful week. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod.
Go get the clutch stuff for the people you love.
It's at clutchdefenseco.com. We have our clutch defense products. We have the Snitch, which is our personal safety alarm, and the Shiv, which is our comb that is actually a 3-inch blade. And we have drink covers, the Shield, so you don't get roofied. Also, go to patreon.com/wifeofcrimepod. We have our book club meetings next week for everybody in the book club. Yes, next Monday and Wednesday, book club meetings, and then we'll be picking the next book after that. So if you're interested in joining the book club, you can sign up at any tier at Patreon, and we will be picking the new book soon. And Russ actually read this book, so he will be participating.
Yeah, audiobooked it.
You audiobooked it.
I'll be in the building. I was there last time, though.
You were.
I didn't have much to say. I chimed in with some random dumb shit just since I was there.
Yeah, you did. And Facebook at Wife of Crime, the Crime Family, and we will check you next time.
Have the week you deserve.
See you later. Bye.